So now let's get into video editing. First thing are the programs that you're going to want in order to do your editing. For me, since I use Adobe Premiere and Adobe After Effects to do all my post-production, I have the Adobe Creative Suite. The way to gain access to Adobe's Creative Suite is through the Adobe Creative Cloud. You can go to their website, adobe.com/Creative Cloud, and choose a plan that's great for you. A great option is this $52.99 a month annual plan. Once you install it, you get the Adobe Creative Cloud at the top of your toolbar here. You get a list of all of the apps. You can choose to install whichever you like, and you do all of your updates right through this plugin. Once you've downloaded and set up the Adobe Creative Cloud, let's go ahead and open Adobe Premiere. Now, if you never created a project in Adobe Premiere before, this list will be blank and you will select New Project. First thing you're going to want to do is browse and select where you want the project to be saved. I have a hard drive by LaCie connected right now, and it's titled TaylorCut University. But whenever I'm editing within my studio, my TaylorCut Master Drive is what I save everything to. If you're looking for a good hard drive, I use all of LaCie's products. The TaylorCut Master Drive is this LaCie 6-Big Thunderbolt 3. I have the 48 terabyte LaCie, and it is incredible. If we go ahead and open up the hard drive, this is how I have everything organized. Creating the fewest amount of folders within your hard drive when you first open it is the easiest way to stay organized. Also, by right-clicking and selecting a color tag, it's an amazing tool for organization. So this helps me right away by knowing yellow is for my music videos, green is for my brand campaigns, blue is for everything on intent on, orange are my final exports when I finished a project so I have it saved so I don't need to reopen the project file, and purple is for any content collaboration that I do with another person. So within content creation, I have all the people that I collaborate with, which is incredible. My final exports are all Adobe ProRes 4444, so it's the highest quality possible whenever I need to reference it. Intent on has the TaylorCut University, the TV series Self-Expression, all my short films and movies. Brand campaigns are labeled and organized by the name of each brand. And music videos are the most recent music videos that we are working on. For me, using this LaCie 6-Big Thunderbolt 3 is incredible. Thunderbolt 3 is the fastest transfer process you can use, especially on an iMac, so this means data speeds are fast, and since it's a RAID, it is constantly making backups so I never have to worry about losing my footage. If you're someone who films a lot and knows you're going to start accumulating photos and videos and making a lot of edits, using a desktop computer is the quickest way to handle these larger files, and I'm so thankful to be using this LaCie 6-Big Thunderbolt 3. I never have any issues with editing speeds, and we are currently using red RAW files shot in 8K 60 frames a second, so these are as large as they get. If you want to maintain the highest quality possible, I highly suggest you get this drive. Now when I'm traveling, I use these rugged portable hard drives from LaCie. I have the iMac Pro, so I get the Thunderbolt USB-C version. You have 4 terabyte option, 2 terabyte option, all the way up to 5 terabyte, which is incredible to have on the road. When I'm filming now, I either use the Canon 1DX Mark II, 4K 60 frames a second, or the Red Monstro in 8K 60 frames a second. Both of these codecs use up a lot of space, so being on the road with a 5 terabyte drive is an incredible help. I would highly suggest looking into these hard drives as well. So once you have your hard drive set up, go ahead and create about 4 to 5 main folders that you can keep any project in. So when starting a new project, the first thing you're going to want to do is figure out where you're saving your project file. Since we are filming on location tomorrow and we're traveling to Laguna Beach, I have chosen to save my project file and all of its footage in a portable drive. So within TCF, here's the folder titled Only. And now these 4 main folders are what I set up within every one of my projects. First, you have your footage. This is where you save all of your raw clips. For me, I'm filming the short on a Red, so these are all the files. Now usually if I was on a trip and not working on a short film, and it was just going to be on location, not knowing exactly what I was going to get, I would probably be using the Canon 1DX Mark II. In which case, I'd be alternating between photo and video because I love taking photos as well to share on social media. Since the short film, I know I'm going to be using flashbacks that I shot on the 1DX, I decided to title this folder Memories. Within the folder Memories are edits that I've created before, which I'm going to import into my Premiere project file, and then apply either a VHS or film filter to make it seem like memories within the short film. So since this short film has a pre-production process and I understand what the story is going to be, this is why this is titled Memories as opposed to 1DX. Usually when I'm traveling on the road just wanting to gather content, I'd be filming on my 1DX and taking photos simultaneously in order to use photos for social media. In which case this folder would be titled Photos, and any raw files that I take on the 1DX I'll drop into Photos, and any video clips I'll drop into Footage. This way when I want to edit photos, I can just go to Adobe Lightroom, File Import, take it from the Photos folder, and then when I go ahead and edit the video, I open Adobe Premiere and import from the Footage folder. Next, I have a music folder. For the short film, these are songs that I'm going to be using. Now if I were making a travel video, I would have whatever the soundtrack is placed within this music folder. Next, and one of the most important, is a folder titled Premiere Project Files. Having this folder is where your autosave will go as well as your audio previews. This is also the folder you're going to use when creating a project. Another folder you can create is sound effects. Audio design is incredibly important in your video. This is what will really help transform the narrative that you're telling. If you want to, you could drop sound effects within music to keep 4 folders within this window, or you can leave it out, whatever is easier to you. But differentiating between the sound effects and the soundtrack is incredibly important, especially if you're telling a longer story and are using multiple songs. Now, if you notice files appearing and disappearing within my desktop here, it is because I am currently working on this new project and I wanted to screen record and show you how I create a project from start to finish. I feel like giving you this inside look is the easiest way to truly explain how I bring a narrative to life. Now that you have the hard drive set up, all the folders correct, let's go ahead and start a project. So when you're starting and saving a project, go to Browse. You can go ahead and select the hard drive that you want to save it on. Now once you have all your folders set up and organized, you can select Premiere Project Files, choose, go ahead and select your title. I like to give each of my videos a definitive name. Just like any great story, it has its title. Think about what you want the intention and message to be and just go ahead and type it. Once you have a title that you love, hit OK, and voila, now we're within Adobe Premiere. Now if you've never used Adobe Premiere before, first thing you're going to want to do is select a layout that feels right for you. For me, I like going to Window, Workspaces, and Editing. Now once you have your layout that feels comfortable, a quick way to save time is by going to Premiere Pro and Keyboard Shortcuts. Now I have a custom keyboard layout preset that I titled Tailor Cut, and I customize some of these keys for efficiency. If you want, you can go ahead and save some of these hotkeys, and I'll explain what each of them do and how I use it to save time. Now the changes that I made within my specific keyboard are with the letters Q, W, D, tilde, and X. For Q, I added the command ripple trim previous edit to playhead. In order to add a command, all you have to do is select the key that you want, type in what you want it to do. So for Q, we want ripple trim previous edit to playhead. Go ahead and drag it over. Now if we go back to my custom keyboard, Tailor Cut, for Q, we've assigned ripple trim previous edit to playhead. For W, we've added ripple trim next edit to playhead. If you go ahead and look at your keyboard, Q is closer to tab, W is farther away. So for Q, this makes a ripple delete to the beginning of the clip. W, this does it to the end. For D, we have ripple delete, and we have add edit. For F, I selected under the command modifier, scale to frame size. This way, if I'm dropping in a 1080 clip in a 4K timeline, I can go ahead, select it, hit Command F, and it'll automatically scale it, so I don't have to go into Effects and drag the scale. And lastly, for N, under the command modifier, we have Nest. So once you've gone ahead and assigned these keys, go ahead and hit OK. And now you're ready to start your project. So if you're filming with a DSLR, like a Sony a7S, Panasonic GH5, Canon 5D or 1DX, you've already dropped all of your footage within the appropriate folders on your hard drive. This means when you hit Command I to go ahead and import, you can select your drive, select the folder, So now that you have all your folders set up, you can go ahead and select what you want to import into your project. Since we already have the song, we can select music. Since we imported all of our clips, we can select footage. If you have this saved as photos, you don't have to import the photos into your video project. And if you already have files in your sound effects bin, you can select that as well. Go ahead, hit import. Now I'm gonna hit cancel simply because this is trying to import red footage. If you've never imported red footage before, you go to Media Browser, select your hard drive, select your folder, select where the footage is saved, and here we have all the clips that are shot on red. All you do is double click, it pops up within the window, you can hit spacebar for play, and you can go ahead and scrub through and select where you want the clip to start. Say I like that first step with the left foot, I hit I for endpoint, continue to scrub, or hit spacebar so it plays through. I think the camera finished its motion right there, so you're gonna hit spacebar to stop, hit O for out point. And now what's really important to note here is the first clip that you drag into your timeline is what it's gonna set the project sequence to. So this was filmed in 8K at 60 frames a second because it was on the Red Monstro. Since I know within the sequence I'm gonna use only Red Monstro clips, I'm gonna take the drag video only, drag it to the timeline, and when I let go, my sequence settings has automatically been set to 8K resolution. So if you're not using red footage, but you're rather using a DSLR camera, you can go back to the Project tab, drop down your footage, and what you're going to want to make sure is that the frame rate is consistent with what you want to export at. So within my footage bin here are all final exports. Now this means these are all final edits that I've exported from Adobe Premiere before. This is why they're all the same frame rate. Now say if you were filming with a Canon 1DX in slow motion, if you were doing 4K 60, the frame rate might say 60, and if you were filming in 120 frames a second, the Canon 1D automatically defaults it to 30 frames a second. What you're going to want to do in that case is select all of your footage by holding down Shift and clicking, right-click, modify, interpret footage, assume this frame rate, and type in 23.98. When you hit OK, it'll automatically convert all of your clips to the correct frame rate that's going to match your timeline. Next, you're going to want to set your timeline to be the highest resolution possible. Even if you're exporting for Instagram vertical, first start with this horizontal edit so that way you can export it in the highest resolution possible and then make a vertical version from there. It's easier to work backwards and take something horizontal and make it vertical than trying to take a vertical edit and then make it horizontal, say if you want to use it for YouTube later. Also, if you are uploading to YouTube, you're going to want it to be 4K or the highest resolution possible for there as well. For example, if you were just shooting in 4K 60 frames a second and then converted it to 23.98, you can go ahead, take it, and drag it into the timeline, and then you'll have a 4K sequence. If, however, you were using the 1D and filming at 120 frames a second, that resolution is 1920 by 1080. You can go ahead and set the dimensions of your sequence simply by going to File, New, Sequence, and Adobe Premiere already has a list of sequence presets for you. Personally, I love using red, 4K, 4K 16 by 9, 23.976. Next, go ahead and title your sequence whatever the name of the project is. Once you have your title, hit OK. Next, you have a sequence that is 4K, 23.98 frames a second. Next, to keep this project organized, we're going to create a couple more bins. Let's minimize footage. Let's create a sequence bin. And let's also create a nested bin as well. Next, what you're going to want to do is take your project sequence, drop it into the sequence folder. And then what I like to do is go ahead, make a duplicate copy, footage. Double click, so you add another tab here. And within this sequence, this is where we're going to place all of the footage that we have to work with. If you want to as well, you can make a duplicate of that and title it Selects. Double click to add it. Now the reason why you have a footage sequence and a select sequence is for footage, this is where the whole clip will live. For example, like we just did in this reference clip here, I set an in and an out point of where I think a specific shot started within the entire clip. So the clip with the applied in and out point trim, we would drag that into the select sequence. Now Adobe is letting me know that this select sequence that we set up is 4K resolution, and what we're trying to drop in is a clip that was shot at 8K. So it's simply asking us, would we like to change the sequence to match the 8K clip that we're dropping in, or do we want to keep the existing settings of 4K like we set up? Since our final export is going to be in 4K, we're going to go ahead and select Keep Existing Settings. Now if you want, you can go ahead and take this V1 line and drag it up. I like doing this because I'm a visual person and I enjoy seeing what the first frame of this clip looks like if I'm quickly going through my timeline. And now we can begin to use some of these keyboard shortcuts to save us some time in organizing. Now if I want to get this clip all the way to the beginning of the timeline sequence, I could either click and drag it to the left, or I can click in this empty gap here and select D, which says the ripple delete like we set up. Next, if we click here and go to Effect Controls, we can see that since this is an 8K clip in a 4K timeline, it is zoomed in. So we're losing some of the frame. Now we could either go to Scale and make it 54, which would fit in the whole frame, or we can use the F hotkey like we set up. So if we click, hit Command F, it'll go ahead and frame it up to the correct size. Now there's two ways to go about organizing your footage. You could either just go to the Footage tab, select all of your clips, go ahead and drag it in, keep existing settings, go ahead and highlight everything, hit Command F. So if you go ahead on your keyboard and use the plus key, it'll zoom in, and the minus key will zoom out. So say you want to zoom in, drag V1 up so that way we can see the beginning of the thumbnails, and since these are all final edits, the first frame is black because I like to put a Tailor cut film at the beginning of it. So this is how you set up a proper timeline, and now you can begin organizing your footage. So now we're going to go ahead and close this project and open up an edit that I'm currently in the middle in so we can see how I organize and trim through all of my footage.